Good afternoon, everyone. This is Jared Rand, and welcome to the Global Guided Meditation Call for Friday, January 5, 2024, after 3:15 p.m. Eastern. We'll be having a reverse aging health call tonight at around 9 p.m. Eastern. All the greatest treasures are hidden behind that which we wouldn't want to be with. All the wisdom, compassion, and treasures are within us. So where are you going to hide it, Pamela Wilson? What would happen if the majority of the civilization were on their own, nothing artificial, but on their own, discover that their greatest journey is within them and not outside of them? Well, this would mean that people would discover a lot of things about themselves, good, bad, and ugly. Embrace them all parts of us, okay? And not ignore anything about ourselves, and not be judgmental upon ourselves, and be gentle, kind, generous, and humble with ourselves at all times, and in deep gratitude at all times. This is when you call an understanding with yourself is that you are in the heart-mind. You are in the now. You are not in yesterday or tomorrow. And you begin to discover that you're not your name, you're not your personality, you're not your character, you're not your possessions, you are not your status at all. That's the body. Body is programmed, conditioned through this lifetime. All of us. None of us are exempt from being conditioned. It's just that then the question is how do some people move out of that where they're not conditioned anymore? It's because they become curious about things. They re-embrace their childlike curiosity. We all know what that is. We were all kids at one time. We had that curiosity. We were always asking questions. We were always wondering how things worked and why they worked, and depending on what we looked at, or, like, what does a rainbow taste like if you could lick it? So, but see, what we do is true conditioning that drops away. We don't lose it. It's buried, and we just don't have it. We don't utilize it. And even though many of us would like 100% guarantee that everything is going to be okay throughout our lives, it's like we want a golden contract, right? Agreement from God that says our entire future will be safe from harm, free from pain, and that we will always manifest our every desire and dream. We want to know for sure that life is always working out for us in our favor. And we are guaranteed to a perfect, flawless future. Now, on top of that, we want a life that is brimming with excitement and overflowing with new fascinating adventures every day. We want a future that is free from boredom, filled with spiritual richness, that we are forever bathing in the healing qualities of our very soul. Now, the real question is, would all of this be possible? Would all of this be possible if there was no such thing as fear? Ask yourself. If you've done your inner research and you look deeply into your personal relationship with fear, which most people don't, they experience it, they create it. It might seem to be one of those slippery issues that we are either trying to cope with, ignore, transcend, or avoid at all costs. Many of us were what? When we were kids, right? Told in our childhood that if we want to be happy, we need to conquer our fears. Yet nobody actually told us how to do it. Probably because they hadn't accomplished this amazing feat themselves. Perhaps because most everyone has forgotten the truth. And what is the truth? That we are divine, eternal, spiritual beings who will never die. That is the truth. How many times have you caught yourself or other people, say, I wish I wish I didn't have so much fear. I wish I wasn't so afraid of this or that. And some people are waiting for a magical formula that will free them from fear. Is it really possible that we could conceivably eliminate fear from our lives? A statement amongst the many, that the quote that Osho made, that which can be taken away from you is not worth keeping, and that which cannot be taken away from you, why should one be afraid of its being taken away? It cannot be taken away. There's no possibility. You cannot lose your real treasure. You, the God that you are. So, what is it? Yeah, you've probably met, maybe you have, through your travels in this life so far, you might have met someone that you kind of looked at and said, they don't seem to have any fear at all. So the first action towards fearlessness begins with taking a baby step into trusting the energy of fear. Because it is energy. Everything's energy. Thoughts are energy. So that you trusting energy, right, comes from a spiritually advanced understanding that we live in a divine, benevolent, conscious universe that never makes a mistake and has no room for coincidences. Now, this all-intelligent, life-giving universe it's always on our side. Always. And it knows exactly what ingredients are needed for our enlightenment. Now, it's up to every one of us to either decide to accept this paradigm or not. Accepting it into every cell in our body, we can start to understand how fear is our greatest teacher and best friend. By knowing the loving universe is always working in our favor, we can relax more. Take the risk to snuggle up to our fear. Get a closer look underneath it just to see what it truly is and why it is actually there. Now, in becoming truly fearless, we will need to develop the daily practice of deep, authentic curiosity with ourselves. We will need to explore why we are afraid of whatever we are afraid of. What is this special avoidance that is hooked deep into our guts and hearts really all about? Is it only through a childlike curiosity and true heartfelt inquiry that we can turn our worries into wonders and catch a glimpse of what it actually is that we are running from. A lot of people running from things. Looking inside, behind, or underneath our fear for the first time may seem life-threatening, or feel as if you're about to enter a secret cellar door that's been hidden for hundreds of years. This is the right place to start, somewhere that feels very familiar, frightening, and instantly makes you want to run and hide. If you, for instance, let's say that you're not familiar with something, right? If someone says to you, and there's a door, you open the door, and it's blacker than the blackest black, and there's no lights. You don't have any lights. And the person next to you says, I'm not going down there. Are you going to go down there? We got to go down there. So you say, okay, I'll go down there. But you are scared silly. Have you ever been in a situation, okay, so you're not familiar with your surroundings. Different like when you're at home and stuff like that. And even then, there's a little bit of turbulence. But someplace that you go, it is so dark that you can't see anything, and you don't know the lay of the land, so you don't know what's out. Well, you don't have any clue what's there. And then there's some apprehension. There might be an elevated breathing because of the unknown. Now, some of us would go in there, and knowing who and what we are, wouldn't have any fear. We'd go in there. You know, in the pitch black, just walk around and try and feel yourself around, which we've all done at one time or another. But you have that fear. It's there. Why? Because you don't know it's there. Now, when you turn the lights on, it's different. But when you turn the lights on, you're also fearful of what you may find. Be aware the mind is a genius at avoiding what it needs to confront. We have all sorts of strategies and tricks of getting distracted from peering into places which make us uncomfortable. Be infinitely patient and insanely persistent whenever you approach your fear. Perhaps you're a bit analytical and wondering, how does one actually look underneath a fearful feeling? Pretty basic question. How does one do that? A feeling, a thought, or a scary image that is stuck in the mind? Well, all of us are going to need an extra dose of childlike imagination for this journey. We cannot put it in a closet forever. Roll back the clock a few years and recall what life was like when you were a child. Do you remember how you played and played all day long? I mean, most of us did, right? Our creativity and imagination never ended all day long, even into the night. Perhaps you were into playing fantasy games like Saving the Innocent Princess from the Kingdoms and Fire-Breathing Dragon. I did that as a kid. It was a fire-breathing dragon. But at the time I was on a course, I was on Air Base, and in the back, it was funny because these houses, this was in England, the houses on the base, they were all ranches, and they were kind of like in a circle. So you go down a drive, you turn left, you pass all these homes, and then you go around, and then there's just It's a big circle of them. And there's this big field, at least to me it was at the time, behind all these homes. So they were all encircling this field, grassy area. And so I was into comic books when I was a kid. I collected Marvel comics when, the first Iron Man, the first this, that, and all kinds of comic books. And I was fascinated by things that no one was fascinated by. And so I became one of those heroes, one of those superhuman beings. And I was always eliminating evil. Always. It was always eliminating evil. It was making things, at least in my childlike mind, good, happy for everyone. And I did that for a long time. And I still do in different ways. But somewhere along the line, through our programming or conditioning, and it's pretty much with all of us, we leave that childlike curiosity. Somewhere along the line, we drop it off. We put it in the closet, maybe in our subconscious mind closet, but we don't use it. Do you ever act goofy like you did as a kid? Doesn't matter what age that body is. Have you ever done that? Or talk silly? Because it's part of us. And to suppress it can cause a lot of issues. And we can utilize it so much in this very now moment. Our creativity and our imaginations never end. Even today, in this very now moment, we had it as kids, we still have it. We have the power to imagine anything and everything. We had it as children, we have it now. You might have even imagined that you became a grown-up adult person who lost touch with their childish power of imagination. As Albert Einstein made the quote, "Imagination is more important than knowledge. Knowledge is limited while imagination encircles the world, the solar system, the galaxy, the universes." Did you ever have an imaginary friend when you were a kid? Heck, I had a whole bunch of them. Nobody could see them. That was the cool part. No one could see them or talk with them, only I could. And they were real. I looked at things and I thought everything could communicate. That's what I believed as a child. There was a way that everything communicated with me, and I was on this mission to find out how they did that. Rock, bug, doesn't matter. Fish, hermit crab. I always felt that they were communicating with me, and I was there to find out how they were communicating with me, so I could understand what they meant. Whatever fantasies or creative games we played back then, we are still playing them now on some level today, in this very now moment. They're just more adult-like, serious games that we're playing on the inside. Our minds are still making up all sorts of stories about everything and everyone, including ourselves. Our imaginations, they're creating everything in our lives. Everything. Our imagination is responsible for creating every fear that we have. Since it has created all of our fears. it also has the power to stop creating them and invent something totally brand new. Our imaginations are always on. There's no off. Always forming new movies inside. And we still have the amazing power of imagination working every day inside every one of us. The real question is, are we willing to step beyond any quote-unquote normal, ordinary versions of reality that we've created and discover a place inside of us where anything is possible? Anything. Our imaginations are extremely powerful. Now, when you look at food, right, or even smell it, for example, your imagination kicks in. Your salivary glands start firing up. Your body starts to react to whatever the mind sees inside. When you get hooked in imagining something you don't want to see, there's that don't want to see, cannot accept, cannot understand or relax with, then our body continues to react in fight or flight mode each time. Fight or flight mode. In other words, confront, conflict, or skedaddle. Now, after a few repetitions, fearful chemical can instantly form inside our brains whenever we have that same thought pattern again. So, okay, this I don't know if it's happened to everyone, but it happens to a lot of people. Let's say, that you have a dinner or lunch or breakfast, okay? Let's say it's out somewhere. And, so it was good, you enjoyed yourself. And so as the day progresses, you start getting really sick. I mean, heavy-duty stomach. You probably, upchuck and everything, but you really, it's deeply embedded. You got sick and you never forgot it, right? So it was eating something. It could have been a steak dinner, okay? And you identified with that steak dinner that you were never going to eat steak again, or any meat for that matter. Because every time you got a whiff of like a steak or meat, you started feeling sick. And you say to the person, I can't eat that. Why? Well, one time I got desperately sick on it. Really? Yeah. Can't eat it. That's a prime example right there. So it's after a few repetitions, fearful chemical can instantly from inside your brain whenever you have that same thought pattern again. So it starts gearing up again when you get around it. I invite everyone to realize right now in this very moment that our mind is responsible for creating all of our fears. Every terrifying, heart-beating, panic-driven, life-freezing sensation we've ever had came completely from our imaginations. Completely from our imaginations. The trust is our mind, the trust that our mind is making a movie all the time. It seems very real to us. Yet it is still just a movie inside the screen of our mind. That which is real is what never changes. And what is real? The gods that we are in these bodies, which never change. Everything else is an illusion created by the mind. The constant stream of pure white light, awareness, in the back of the cinema show. This light is what's projecting all the images that we're seeing on the screen. So it's almost like, it is really like, that we must choose to take full responsibility for our inner movie show and get in touch with what our deepest, darkest, fearful movie truly is. It's not like, it's just not about getting over a scary movie that you watched and then you had nightmares about it. Yet it's dealing with the real fears which are blocking us from creating the lives we want to live. So we make this commitment, this fearless commitment to ourselves, is that we will stop avoiding fear for the next 21 days of our lives and instead explore it with a childlike curiosity. We all have this. We some to lesser degrees, some to really advanced degrees. There's many people that are afraid of intimacy. You can tell that. You can tell that. Okay? Just by watching it, you can tell that. On a social level, let's say someone says, "Hey, Mary, I'd like you to go on stage here. There's about 3,000 people out there. I'd like you to go out there and tell them what you told me." Mary'd probably have a conniption, right? Most people would. I'm not prepared for that. I don't like going out in front of people and talking about that stuff. I mean, some of us are afraid of what? Heights. We get too high up, we get dizzy, we get woozy, we get frightened, and no, I'm afraid of heights. People are scared to death of insects. Maybe some of you are. Dogs. Huge crowds. Tight spaces. Take a few minutes right now and review them. When you have your quiet time during the course of the day, write out an extensive list of everything that makes you cringe and makes you want to run, scream, or hide, including everything you can think of until you are empty. Take as much time as you need in making your fear list. It can be one of the most liberating things any of us will ever do this year. Now, it's interesting, sometimes we're so frightened at something that we just freeze. But yet, then there are times that we realize courage is not the absence of fear, but rather the judgment that something else is more important than fear. Ambrose Redmoon. That's why some of us will, be really scared to death about things, events that are happening, whatever. But yet we go out, we basically overcome it, and we have this burning courage to save lives. So something's happening, and you put yourself out there, and you don't have the fear. Gone. It just literally vanishes. All you care about is saving that kid from drowning, or that's what happens. Not like you, this is something you do every day, but that happens to us, where we just omit the fear, and the courage overrides the fear. Have a conversation with yourselves and find out with yourself and imagine the solution. What is your top fear? What's the solution to releasing this one fear inside? That old dark cellar. So you use your imagination. So you're opening that dark cellar door right now. You're seeing this long, dark tunnel inside. And I mean, you can't see the floor. You can't see the walls. You can't see the ceiling. All it is this big black hallway. You know it's a hallway down there. So you open that door, the dust and everything, maybe some cobwebs, and you have no clue how long this dark tunnel is, or when you'll reach the end, if there is one. Your inner child is curious, though. Say, curious. So you step inside, and you start walking down this long passageway. And that long passageway happens to contain the most amazing secret treasure waiting at the end just for you. Now, with your childlike curiosity, you feel courageous, though, and willing to trust in the experience of exploring your fear. No matter how frozen you may feel inside, which a lot of people will. Always remember that approaching your fear is a very magical and empowering thing to do. Every fear is created from, remember, it's created from our imagination. And that's a real, doesn't it? It's real, it feels really real, doesn't it? And you are always in charge of what happens. Always. So relax. Enjoy the scary ride. You may want to rely on your inner light to guide you through the darkness and trust in the fear exploration process. This is why a deep curiosity is needed to constantly shift us into excitement mode. The most amazing treasures in this life are hiding in the last place any of us would think to look. Now, as we reach the very end of our dark tunnel, we see some light. Not real bright light. And there's someone sitting there meditating in front of a white candle. You see this scene. An odd sensation of trust comes over your body. And you feel this being is a very old, familiar friend you once knew. You look into their eyes, and you see how extremely happy they are to meet you again. Now, have you ever been in that situation? That part right there, where you hadn't seen someone in a very, very, very long time. And you're very enthusiastic. You're very excited to see them again. So picture that. You know in your heart that this old friend is the wildest, craziest, fearless person you have ever known. This being is your new fearless friend, and they are here to guide you into fearlessness. Fearlessness. Now, your fearless friend has never, ever felt any fear about anything or situation that you are afraid of. They're actually deeply in love with whatever it is you are afraid of. And they are actually looking forward to doing that thing which you fear. Your fearless friend seems to have a spiritual experience doing the thing you fear. Notice the tremendous joy, awe, and pleasure they have on their face just thinking about doing what you fear. Now, you both are now back in your own cozy home, and you're getting to know each other more personally. Sitting down with your friend on the couch, listening to their creative story about why they love doing the thing you fear. You are becoming the best of friends. Now, this being loves hanging out with you and helping you to overcome your fear. Listen to all the fun, wild, and crazy stories they have. Notice how scary, exciting, and liberating it is for you to hang out with your fearless friend. Explore how they think, how they feel about this life, and what their average day is like. Feel how they are naturally relaxed and at peace with whatever it is that you fear. A quote by Kurt Vonnegut. We are what we pretend to be, so we must be careful about what we pretend to be. Spend lots of deep quality time interviewing your new friend. Practice stepping into their body, feeling what it's like to be totally fearless. How do they feel getting out of bed each morning? What is their attitude about life and death? What does a fearless heart feel like? Capture as many juicy details as you can until you have a strong sense of what it's like to feel the fearlessness that is inside their body. Experience how their body responds with joy, pleasure, or deep awe whenever they are doing the thing you are afraid of doing. The final step to this amazing exercise is where the real fearless work begins. In our real daily lives, a few minutes after we wake up every morning, and just before we fall asleep every night, spend some time with your fearless friend. Do this at least for 21 days. It may be just a few minutes each morning and evening, yet be consistent with meeting your fearless friend right before you fall asleep and right after you wake up. Give them a hug. Tell them you love them, and feel what it's like to be together every day and night. You can even plan to meet at some common place in your dreams at night and have an imaginary cup of tea together. You can hang out all night long if you want and do tons of fun, fearful things together. Be adventurous. Be creative. Get to know them intimately and engage in some deep, interesting conversations with them about this life. Look deep into their eyes. Every time you meet, feel what it is like to live in their heart and soul. Explore the actual realness of this newfound relationship until it feels as real as how our mother and father are for us. Every morning and evening, keep practicing and practicing and practicing. If you need to, fake it until you make it. Experience what their fearless mind feels like. May even try breathing their fearless energy into your heart and seeing how it may change how your body feels. When you make the time to create a real relationship with your fearless friend every day for 21 days, I guarantee you something miraculously will occur. Naturally, organically, you will inherit all their fearless qualities and become free from any fear you may have had. So enjoy the journey. I'll join you in the meditation, and I'll return to close us out.
an easy and slow breath in through the nose. Easy and slow breath out from the mouth. Remain still. Cultivate a soft, loving kindness with yourself today. Notice that it's like being gentle. Notice what it's like being gentle with you, no matter what happens or doesn't happen. It really is time to heal your life in the most radical ways. You will open the hearts and minds of everyone you know. Oh, how sweet your life truly is. Take this with you for the rest of the day, into the evening and night and the following morning. We'll return here tonight, Friday, January 5th, 2024, around 9 p.m. Eastern, to continue our reverse aging health call. And Saturday, January 6th, 2024, 3:15 p.m. Eastern, to continue our global guided meditation call. Be gentle, kind, generous, and humble with yourself at all times. Be in the highest of the highest high, deepest of the deepest, deepest, purest of the purest, purest, eternal gratitude at all times, no matter what's going on within you or outside of you.